So back in the day, there was a Walkley Awards lunch for business journalists. One of these things where you go along to celebrate how great you are after putting in a nomination, after nominating yourself for an award. That's the Walkleys. There was a guy called Greg Medcraft. Greg was the head of the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, the top dog corporate regulator in the country. And he was speaking at this business lunch somewhere in Surrey Hills back in the day. It was actually 10 years ago to the day. And in a jocular fashion, he let slip to the group of journos who clearly then went and wrote it. These were the words that Australia is a white-collar criminal paradise. Australia is a white-collar criminal paradise. Well, didn't he get a phone call from somebody or other? We assume it was Matthias Cormann, who was a finance minister who likes being suavely aggressive with people. They probably told him to pull his head in, mate. You're going to have to withdraw those comments. We are not a white-collar criminal paradise. But of course, Medcraft was right. He was ASIC chairman. He knew Australia has been a white-collar criminal paradise for many, many years. And one of the things to tighten that up, we've got a reputation on the global stage from the Financial Action Task Force in Geneva, the kingpins on corporate crime. And they say we're a white-collar criminal paradise, but not in those words. We are dragging the chain globally. We're even getting the quiet word in the ear from the Brits, who are telling us to put our socks up. We are under huge pressure, but of course, we haven't brought in these particular laws for 17 years that cover accountants, lawyers, and property developers. 17 long years because they just haven't got the guts to bring them in. So Australia is a white-collar criminal paradise. And why is this important? Because the property market is inflated by black money coming from overseas, you name it, whether it's drug dealers or black money coming out of China, as a lot of it is, comes into Australia. There's no checks and balances because lawyers, accountants, and property developers can launder money with gay abandon. This is what they do. And so finally the bill got introduced into Parliament by Attorney General Marky Dreyfus earlier last month. 3 weeks ago. And it was ready to go at the end of the month, September 30. Was the due date, the deadline for it to be legislated, along with beneficial ownership laws, which would have been a huge boon to Australia's credibility on corporate crime. But not only that, it would help to ease property prices because all this money flooding into the white-collar criminal paradise is pushing prices up, along with the lethal cocktail of negative gearing, load up with debt on as many properties as you like, CGT relief, so you're flipping the family home for a profit tax-free. Immigration, obviously, and there are supply issues, but those are the main ones. And AML CTF reform, anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism financing reform, 17 years in the making. And now it's been kicked off to a committee because the Libs got up and they said, we don't have enough time, and businesses, poor Australian businesses, this has just suddenly come up. How are we to know? 17 years of consultation, of stakeholder engagement. That's how you're meant to know. This is no surprise. You knew it was coming. Everybody knows it's coming. But Labor, of course, what did they do? They went, we won't contest that. We'll just go along. We'll go with the flow because, let's face it, our donors don't want it to happen either. Our property developers, our big four accountants, all our money laundering associates, the lawyers, the Law Council of Australia, forever trying to thwart it so that lawyers can continue to launder money. Huge money in laundering money, obviously. It will have to happen probably before 2026 because there's a deadline for FATF and we get prescribed, and it's going to cost us trade with the EU. And there's going to be all sorts of issues there for Australia if we don't do it. But right at the moment, they've kicked that can down the road. Secrecy is the other absolutely key thing in this, because part of this bill, the amendment to the AML bill, is beneficial ownership, so we can see who actually owns things. As we know, transparency is the tonic for good government. Transparency, sunlight, bad things happen in darkness. Anyway, they've kicked the can down the road. It's now back with the committee, which is the Legal Affairs Committee, I think. which means that it's just going to there'll be waffly kind of stakeholder engagement submissions to the inquiry when the inquiry happens, and there'll be all sorts of fear mongering from the lawyers, the accountants and the property developers as to, why it's going to hurt them so much to have to obey the laws which are proposed. It's going to be good fun. Anyway, there you go. Another cop-out from our elected officials. Check out too Harry Chimay on the latest out of the PBO modelling Parliamentary Budget Office today for CGT and negative gearing. It's the latest numbers. Who gets the benefits from this? Harry discloses all that and plenty of other good stuff too.